Next topic. Apple had a big day yesterday on their AI news. Austin, what's your take?
I think it's interesting because everything that I've heard doesn't really indicate how Apple is going to monetize this new AI on the device. It does seem like they're just kind of playing catch up. And with that kind of catch up, the question from me is there going to be any incremental revenue from partnering with OpenAI, or is it just going to be kind of trying to maintain their current market share? The market seems to be saying that there's going to be incremental revenue, but the evidence is maybe slightly different right now, at least in my mind.
Adam, what's your thoughts?
Yeah, I'd have a slightly different take on it. Look, I think Apple has a history of not being first to do something, but taking the idea and sort of commercializing it for the regular people, so to speak. And putting an AI on iPhones is a very interesting idea. And I think the market reaction suggests that the people think that this is going to lead to some sort of ridiculously robust iPhone replacement cycle where everyone that has an old iPhone is going to upgrade so they can use this AI functionality, which might be great for a year or two, but then will create a hole in the future. But look, Apple, if revenue can grow mid single digits and net income can grow high single digits, low double digits, and then you throw on some share repurchases along the way, can Apple's EPS over the next 2 to 3 years now grow 12, 15%? Maybe. Does that justify a 30 plus multiple? Also, Apple put on over $200 billion of market cap yesterday just on this news, right? And it's up again today, 3 or 4% last time I looked. Apple's increase in market cap yesterday and today, just that market cap increase would be a top 50 S&P 500 company. Just to put in perspective how much this move is. That seems a little much.
Also, yesterday, Elon Musk brought up some concerns about having that technology on a phone. Does that play into the calculus here on the valuation?
Well, I think Elon threatened that anyone that worked for one of his companies wouldn't be allowed to bring an iPhone into the building, which is great for headlines. And I think he might have walked it back already. I'm not entirely sure, but I think he was just, he just wanted to use the Apple news as an opportunity to get his name and his companies in the headlines again. That was my take.
Austin, any thoughts on that?
Not really detailed thoughts. I think at the end of the day, Apple, like you could say it's a software company, you could say it's a hardware company. They still get a significant portion of the revenue from hardware. A refresh, so a customer that replaces an old iPhone with a new iPhone, it's not clear to me that that's extremely good or bad for the software business. So the question for me continues to be, how do you monetize this? Like, how do you monetize AI? It doesn't seem like the market cares today. But at the end of the day, for I think serious investors who want to invest in the space and capitalize on the movement, you need to really think about where the cash is going. And I don't necessarily see this announcement driving a lot of incremental new cash to the company. So I do think that, whether it be 200 or $300 billion, it seems like it's a stretch. Creating like as Adam said, a whole new company essentially that's towards the top of the S&P 500. That seems like quite a stretch at this point.
And if I could add one more thought, one thing I haven't heard anyone talk about, and I could be dead wrong on this, but if Apple is adding AI functionality to the iPhone, and right now Google pays Apple to be the default search engine on the Apple browser, so the Apple installed base, you go to search something, it's a Google search. Will Apple Intelligence, I believe that's what they're calling this, will that take over that search functionality? Should Google have been down as much as Apple was up?
Well, is Google not going to be down because they're not going to have to pay the hundreds of billions of dollars to Apple
And
in
they're
the
not,
future for
yeah.
access
Or is it a
to that?
wash?
Yeah, who
But
knows?
it seems like that would be. It seems to me like not having run any numbers and going purely on intuition. It seems like that would be a negative for Google if that were to happen. But
it seems like all this is purely being driven on speculation and emotion, which is really hard for someone who tries to focus on fundamentals to grasp. Not saying that it's wrong. The fundamentals might catch up, or maybe the market is onto something that we are not onto. There are other ways to play the trend, and there are a lot of players. Back to Jay's question, who are trying to do kind of edge compute or AI on device. I'm not a scientist or a computer programmer to know if that's really that bad for the world, or if robots are going to take over because they got a hold of your iPhone that has some AI functionality on it. It seems like Apple is trying to make the argument that the data is going to be private, or there aren't going to be any customer specific data points. But again, I don't really know how that works. You probably have to talk to a programmer with a specialty in AI, and I'd be willing to bet that Elon Musk is not that, but he's trying to make headlines, and as Adam said, already started walking back some of those comments.
Stepping back from Apple for a bit, and just at the risk of just creating a soundbite, Austin, it doesn't feel like it was that long ago that you and I and some other folks were sitting in a conference room debating having a constructive dialogue on whether or not there was a law of large numbers for the size of companies, and could Apple continue to grow. And this was at a time when there were no companies with a market cap of over $1 trillion. Now there's multiple companies. It's pretty wild what's gone on in the last 5 or so years.
Yeah, and I would just say that just because there's 3 or 4 companies, I mean, you've got $2 trillion market caps now. It's not even $1 trillion. Just because they're currently priced there doesn't mean it's justified, right? And so it gets back to like, how do you create long-term value versus like the short-term emotion in the market, and how much of what we've seen in some of these names is short-term emotion versus long-run value. If this is a justifiable valuation, I think just my intuition says we got a lot of inflation coming for the rest of the world to catch up with these things, right? Because otherwise these few companies are essentially taking over, the world pretty quickly. And if they continue to grow, they're going to kind of consume the entire global financial system.